tonight's math and with a little bit of reading, multiple connection night. Tonight we're going to be going over the benchmark, the rough opportunity that we took in, right before the holidays. Then we'll talk about fractions, and we will talk about an introduction to fractions and the comparing and ordering, which the students had put videos about this week, and then adding and subtracting fractions, which they will get videos on, and then next week and the following week we'll kind of move back around. So as always, basically just saying we're going over general concepts and all the different stuff. If you have a specific question about your email, really hard to get a hold of, I know, but feel free to try to get a hold of me. It's hard to get a hold of. So we will talk about the reading benchmark first, and it is important to note that we took them on computers, but they actually read the stories and highlighted their information on the papers. I actually have their information somewhere in the classroom.
You get that, right?
Yeah, I have it back here, I believe. I know I had it at one point, but I don't know what I've since done with it. Here it is. So it was, they took the benchmark, all the questions were on the screen, but I actually printed out the paper that had the story on them, so this is just an example. So they have the physical paper in front of them because the one thing that the online system doesn't do really well is the highlighting disappears sometimes, and then that kind of stresses them out because they think they have to go back and re-highlight everything. So this time I just print out the passage, so they just had a package and see, happens to be not even students. But this is how they highlighted, they wrote their answers on it. So I thought that was really cool because it's a lot easier for me to hold them accountable if I have a paper to look at rather than I need to go back and scroll through all 38 questions for me to check that you have some sort of evidence of work. So I'll get it to you at the end of the night. So if we're looking at this, the color that we don't want to see a lot of is red. And if you're looking at it, there's only two that are in red. There's a couple in orange, but by and large, most of them are white and yellow, which are the good colors to see. Today, when I was actually replacing last year's information with this year's information, it was really good because last year's class had a lot of red and orange versus this class it wasn't. So that was kind of a good moment seeing over the years. Questions that kind of tripped them up, I'll just kind of go through the ones in orange. The theme question, kind of like the overall message of the story, not necessarily the main idea, but what lesson did they learn? And that was in the story, like the main theme that they learned was it's better to just spend time in your own house and enjoy the things rather than try to go on adventures all the time. Fact and opinion, that is going to be something that's going to trip the students up a lot. So we kind of work that into the thing today, this week. Fact and opinion, they just need to know that just because it says it in the story doesn't make it a fact. It has to be something that's like universally accepted, can be researched. I think it's either like which one was an opinion, and all four are in the passage, but the one that is the opinion was something like they found a nice spot, but it says nice spot in the passage, and so you have to kind of prove that not everybody thinks that is a nice spot. Going down the list, author's purpose for details. That is a question that has mixed up gifts every year that I've been here. It's a question like, why did the author choose to make the setting of the story in the winter or something? So they have to think about like, what did that have? That's a very higher level question. It's just like they have to think that the winter is hard for the story about foxes, I believe, finding a new home. So they have to really analyze like, well, why does it say winter? How does that kind of set up the conflict with the story? Coming down, compare, contrast. Cause and effect. They were compare, contrast. They had to compare, contrast the baby wolves to kittens. So, one thing that could be working against them if they've never been experienced with kittens, that's going to be obviously something that's going to hold them back. And it was kind of another why question, like why does the author compare the baby foxes to kittens? Cause and effect, if you look at it, it's pretty interesting because 3 of the 4 questions in a row with cause and effect they did really well on, and there was one that was in the middle that they didn't do so well on. So that could be just wording of that question. Looking at those numbers, it doesn't make me think like they're not really understanding cause and effect. It could be more the wording of the question because 91, 95, and each 2, and then 1 out of 4 being low. That'd just be something that I would need along with like why did the author choose to do that. So that's kind of a little bit of a higher level skill. They have to get into the author's head and understand that. And then the sequence or question not answer, that's going to be something that's going to really confuse students because just the way it's worded, it says like which question is not answered in this passage. It gives them 4 questions as answers, so they need to go find either which one is answered or which one isn't answered. So we were actually working on that specifically this week. That if you see a question like that, go back to the passage, see if you can answer that question. If you can, physically write the answer next to it or highlight the answer. If you can't, then that's the one you're looking for. Prefix, that one kind of surprised me because we worked on prefixes decent amount here and there throughout school. It was more like which word, which it might have, I don't know how many, but it might be like which word is prefix or is the prefix pre used as the same in pre-heat. So they had to find like pre-check or something like that, something. But all words had like the prefix in it, but it didn't necessarily mean a prefix. And then the sequencing one, that one thing that threw them off about that was there were it's this one where you see that there are 3 blanks they have to fill in, but there's 4 choices. One thing that really threw them off that they asked me a lot was there's 4 choices, but only 3 blanks. There's gonna be 1 left over. But that kind of caused them a little bit of anxiety, and that is one big shift we'll be making in reading in the second advisor, which I'll talk about before we start on that stuff. They figure out, which one didn't belong, and then which one where the rest goes. And the biggest mistake that I saw in the class was they found the one that doesn't belong is the one about Charles Lindbergh, because that happened before any of this. But they might have, if they didn't get it correct, what they ended up a lot of them doing. Remind me to come back to that. They would pick the Charles Lindbergh one and then put the other 2 in the proper sequence, but those 2 were supposed to go here, and then there was going to be one there. So they have the concept of ordering, sequencing down, but I think seeing that there were more answers, that was pretty much the first time they've seen in 4th grade, at least they probably thought there were more answers than possible. The funny story I have about this is I'm looking at this, and it kind of confused me this morning. When we're taking the Frost opportunities on the computer, they can, for the open-ended ones like those, they can only put A or B. Someone put C, which I don't know how they isn't an answer that you can choose. So I don't know what happened there. But so before we move on to the math stuff, there will be kind of a shift in reading and how we're kind of teaching it in second advisory, just to get them more prepared for those kind of questions where they're all multiple, there are more than one answer. You're going to be seeing on their little weekly opportunities that they take sometimes in reading things that look a lot like this, different layouts of questions. And we practiced that this week, just really how to attack those that, it's kind of, there's not just one correct answer, and we have to practice the actual moving them around, because last year we kind of just dove right into it without practicing moving them around. And I said, okay, do your questions, and like 20 hands up, and they're like, I just resized everything. And I was like, we're going to do this in small groups this year. But you'll see those coming home, and that will just kind of help prepare them for the SOL, because they are different templates I modeled and try to help them just become more familiar with the formats of the questions. And they're, we'll kind of go through them throughout the leading up to it. But again, we're not going to discuss about the SOL, but it's just something that kind of helps them prepare for the questions. I actually have led with trainings across the state about these, and they say that it's very well achieved. It's one thing that kind of helps them just the concept throws them off, but just the way the questions are asked.
What did you read for that nonfiction?
It was about Amelia Earhart.
And then the second one.
The second one was about foxes. The first one was about a family who tries to find a perfect picnic spot, and spoiler alert, it's their own backyard. So the first one's a really cheesy story. The second one about family foxes, and the last one's Amelia Earhart. I actually had this year a bunch of kids knew who Amelia Earhart was before the story, because a lot of the times that's in the past 2 years, that's been a story where my classes always scored really lowly on, because they've never heard of Amelia Earhart, and that's going to throw you at a huge disadvantage. Versus, you can see overall the scores were pretty well for that section, but a lot of kids are like, oh, I've heard about Amelia Earhart. So, and when we talk about what the third benchmark looks like, I'll be able to kind of break down how many scores and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to switch into the reading or the math side of things. So for the math benchmark, there were 35 questions, and if you look, really only a couple of things. There's only 3 red. I mean, in the whole first section, there's one that was a division word problem that, I mean, 65 is too far off from 70% of the class getting that correct, so that's not too distressing that there were that that's an R, but it was just word problem, and it was one that we had practiced, not exactly that exact problem in class, but a division word problem for them to kind of work through, and all they had to do was grab the numbers and then do it. I was a little bit surprised, to be honest. With number 8, that was multiplying 3 digits by 2 digits, which is like, you know, the uppermost level of multiplication we do. But then some of these other ones are in the 70s and 80s ranges, where either like 2 digits times 2 digits or 3 digits times 1 digit. So it's kind of surprised me that the one that had more digits was the one that, I mean, only one student in the whole class missed that one. But we see if we remember from the first benchmark, that's that weird subtraction number line one, where it was very, very much red in the first advisory. But then in the second advisory, we kind of worked on that as a class and plus videos about like which product is between, and then we did their number line true ranges. Obviously, that practice paid off because they did that much better than in the first advisory. And then coming down, the geometry ones that were missed, that was, they kind of asked the questions in kind of awkward ways. The 27 one, that one, it said, I think it was asking which of the following is a hexagon, and they had this choice. They had a 6-sided figure and they had a 7-sided figure. That's one of the biggest mistakes is students still mixing up hepta and hexagon, and so the 30% was hexagon, the 48% was the heptagon. So that's just something to note. You might want to review that day, you know, between hexa and hepta. The multi-step word problem, that is a very weird way to ask a question that you would never really approach that in the way that they approached it and realized something about they were having a party, and X amount of people were at the party, and those people were each going to eat this amount of pizza slices, and then how many pizzas should they order, and then how many slices will be left over was the answer that they wanted. So, you know, 4 different things that they had to go through, and students answered those in varying degrees. Like there was never any student who was like, my very, very first year, a student said like they should just order 9 pizzas because there's 9 people on the ground. I want to go to that party because that's a lot of pizzas for a lot of people. But like the different students worked it 3 different ways. A lot of them got to the step where they figured out how many pizzas there would be, but they were just looking for like how many slices would be left over type deal. So they worked. It's just always important too, and that's, you can see these last ones were open-ended questions, so something to look at. Same kind of, the number 33. Number 33, what it did was, we had a quick video about this. It said like, circle all of the following that have a quotient of an answer. And it gave them 6 long division problems. So within that one problem, they had to do 6 long division problems. That's pretty daunting, especially when it's, you know, like almost second to last problem of the entire Ross opportunity, when a bunch of kids have been working for a couple days on this in some cases. I feel like that's kind of unfair personally if they wanted. I understand the merit in that question, trying to see if they can kind of interpret it, but that's one for the course to be given, not at the very end, but I don't control that. So a lot of them picked 1 or 2, but there were like 3 that they had to pick, but again, 6 problems they have to do towards the end, which don't pick that. And then number 34 was another one that I think in the future, especially maybe on this upcoming third advisory Ross opportunity, I might tell them to actually start at the end and then go back to the beginning, because the last open-ended ones are always the most challenging ones. Just for the fact that they are open-ended, but also for the fact that they are complex. This one said like, circle all the polygons that have more than 3 sides advisory, big concepts are place value, addition and subtraction. Second advisory is multiplication, division, and geometry. Third advisory is fractions and decimals. And the last time, whichever was the last time. And then fourth advisory is measurement. So fractions is going to be one of our biggest 2 units of this advisory. Basically, overview of the videos from this week. It's equal parts of a whole. We do everything from halves up to 12ths, but they focus more on the halves, the fourths, the fifths, the sixths, the eighths, and the tenths. But they don't really do much with the 7th, 9th, and 11th. Very minimal with 12. We do. It is very related to decimals, and we did the concept of decimals in first advisory, if you remember, and we will revisit it after this one. That's a shift from last year, so normally it'll be interesting to see how it goes this year. And we do fractions in 4 different ways, which is on the next slide. That's area models, where it has like a grid or a circle or something, and they have to figure it out. Set models, which is pictures of people, shapes. I did some Avengers movies and videos this week. The division statement, or I should back up. These 2 are old concepts. They have had those in past years. In past years, they might have, for this one, they might have said 2 out of 4. And now this year, we just say 2 4, 1 half. Same thing with the division statement. All I tell them that is if it's 2/5, turn it on the side, and 2 divided by 5. And then if it says 2 divided by 5, you can just turn it right back up. And actually, one of the kids in a flip video, when they say they had drawn arrows like in their notes, like rotated this way. But really, they just separated it top to bottom, just thinking that the fraction line actually just means divided by. And then measurement models, which can be a ruler, thermometer, number lines can be a very common one. And the biggest, but those are the 4 ways that they will see fractions in 4th grade. Some mistakes are right there. So the biggest, one common mistake is not counting the total amount correctly. So in like in an area model, they might just count quickly and get 8 instead of 9, or count the shaded parts in incorrectly. So that's kind of just a rushing mistake more than necessarily math mistakes. Reversing the division statement, rather than saying 3 divided by 8, they might say 8 divided by 3. Our lovely legislator has included both 3 divided by 8 and 8 divided by 3. And also 3 divided by 11, because if you add 3 it's 11. So that's where they get those answers. And then the reverse 4 divided by 5, they have 5/4 as an answer. So that's why I was trying to tell them to look at it as a picture, like you turn on the side and do that right. And one thing that is kind of an overall understanding of fractions is that a larger denominator doesn't mean it's a bigger piece, which I kind of tried to illustrate with the bacon video last night. That just because it was 1 half doesn't, well, that ended up, I tried to say that like 2 9s, I was like, well, 2's not bigger than 9, or 2's bigger than 1 and 9. So just trying to have that understanding that you actually don't want a bigger number in the denominator most times. Okay, so I'll back up to this actually wasn't on here. On the number line, the biggest mistakes I have seen is the kids first and foremost will get tripped up by the fact that there's 1 half in the middle. They're like, well, do I count that? Do I not count that? Or they won't count the number 1, because in the video I say like count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then the 12 is the last one, so that's your denominator for everything. A lot of times they'll skip over the half because it's already something's written there, so they don't think they need to write something else, or they won't count the 1 because there's already something there. So that's something to be aware of. I will say though, this year they won't have the fractions with the number line this Tuesday, so effectively 2 days of it that I've been watching them in class, and they've been doing really well with the number line. They've actually been picking up on the concept of fractions a lot faster last year, and I don't know if that's because they didn't have all the background with decimals, and then they have to switch it to fractions with last year. So that's one thing I am noticing this year, that they are picking up on the concept of fractions faster. So we should practice that. The whole IXLQ section is all about fractions. We just got our money from the state to have our IXL license re-backed up. Because it expired in like early December, so they've only been able to do 20 problems a day. But the money just came through earlier this week, so I great that if we would have had it by today, then they'd have the long weekend if they want to check that. But I did find out that I know some of the kids got Chromebooks over the break. Every time you log in with a new account, you get 20 more problems. So like, I had a kid like was logged in as himself, and I had him log out and log in as guest, and had 20 more problems there. So I'm going to beat the system. But the money should be here by next week. You can just ask them about fractions in everyday life. Say how many family members are girls, how many are boys, how many are wearing t-shirts, whatever. You can do that. And you do it in the grocery store. Even like in the video, me just pulling out a couple of my movies, I found a lot of like how many of a number that I would do that with pretty much anything. Pretty easy to come up with fractions. And that you can get 12 different color tokens for small toys or whatnot, and ask them what is the fraction normal amount of dogs in these little toys or whatnot. And then you can draw a dot on the ruler and ask them what fraction it is on like the inch line, because that will be out of 12. So that's a good way to reinforce that. Comparing fractions is the second thing we started with fractions, which is actually kind of funny because in past years that's actually been the last thing that we've done. But we're kind of with readjusting things in accounting, we're going to start with that, and they've been doing so well. So they'll be comparing fractions and also mixed numbers. And mixed numbers is just a fraction that has a whole number with it. And the biggest mistake with mixed numbers is they have to look at the whole number first to make sure that, you know, if it's like 5 and 7/9 or 7 and 1/2, doesn't matter if the 1/2 is bigger than the 7/9. The 7 itself is the bigger thing. I will say that the standard, the framework that I have to look at to figure out what I have to teach, does say mixed numbers, but I haven't seen any actual mixed numbers on the items that the state releases for us. So I don't know why it says that, but it says it there because the state releases. So there are two methods. So one is the butterfly method, which is the only one that they have learned, and the only one that I will be like strongly advocating for this year until we get into the adding and subtracting fractions. Equivalent fractions is just a lot more steps, but we'll talk about that because making equivalent fractions is something we'll have to do for adding and subtracting fractions. But the butterfly method is pretty simple. So what you do is you cross multiply the denominator of the one, the numerator of the other, and then you figure out that product, and then you cross multiply there, and you figure out that product, and then you figure out which one it is. So to model that on a smart board, straightforward, right? So if it's 7 10, and you're trying to figure out if that's bigger or less than 3 fifths, you do 10 times 3 times 7 times 5, and 35 is bigger than 30. So you just make the butterfly the bigger one. So I have to make the butterfly. So that's what that essentially does mathematically behind the scenes is it forces them to be like denominators, because you're actually technically multiplying by 5/5. But that's something that we get into. It's just a much quicker way, and they like thinking it over as a butterfly because it kind of helps them also visually represent. Okay, I have the 2 wings and that's the body now, and so it kind of helps them keep on track that way. The way that you do it with making equivalent fractions helps them support what they're learning with adding and subtracting fractions, but because adding and subtracting fractions is coming after comparing now, that's why I didn't lead with equivalent fractions. But I'll show you how you do it with equivalent fractions. So a common mistake, like I said, not looking at the whole numbers first, putting in the wrong sign. That's just my mistake. They might know one student when he brought me the book videos this morning. If it was, he had done all the crosses right, but he had that the butterfly was eating the 12, and I said, well, that doesn't make sense. I was like, all right, I can give you $15 or I can give you $12. If you're showing me that 12 is bigger, 15 is only going to give you $12. He's like, oh, I want $15. I was like, okay, we'll fix it. Well, it's still not going to be. So that's kind of more of a rushing mistake. Just making sure that they always want to like eat. I know that's not necessarily what mathematical sound way to describe it, but it kind of helps them remember that. Not following the correct equivalent fraction when we get doing the butterfly correctly. But what I mean by that is rather than going from bottom to top and bottom to top, you might go top to bottom. But so far, they've been doing really well with it. And we've only had nothing. The way to practice that ISL Q11 through 16, it's all about comparing fractions, and that's going to go from with pictures all the way to just here's two fractions, compare them. You can get 2 poker chips, and I got these from, this is the second year in a row that I can't find them on the spot. So I'm not doing it apparently. But I basically have a set of like 2 poker chips, but they don't have 3 poker chips, like a circle up, zero box. And I literally just wrote a bunch of random fractions on them. And one of their math stations is I give them 2 poker chips, and they have to then write it down on paper and compare the 2 and figure out which one is kind of endlessly because the set has like 3 poker chips, which means there's like a lot of possibilities. But odds of getting the same one and the same odds of me winning the Powerball last night. And yeah, well, because they were doing like a huge pool, and one of the people came in to get my Krispy to win the Powerball. We were waiting back, and I was like, yes, yes. But and then there are another really cool thing that you can make with it. Did just they're called the Tower of Power, and what you do, and this can work for a whole bunch of different things. Get a bunch of Dixie cups, and this is the whole overall concept of this is for reducing fractions, which you can. You can do this with a whole bunch of things. So on the outside of the cup, you write. This is getting into reduced fractions. But you write a really big fraction, and then on the inside of the cup, you write the reduced fraction. So what you would do with the Tower of Power cups, you would give them 2 with the inside. So getting on the outside, they're going to be multiplied by like huge numbers, and you just give them 2 like this. Tell them to look at the inside, and then they compare the 2. So again, the Tower of Power, it takes like it takes like an hour to make. I think I have 3 sets of them. Well worth it, especially if you have a girlfriend who's sitting at home when I'm working at DI, and I say.
You're not working at DI. Don't even bring that up.
Last year, she made them. Last year she made them all for me while I was volunteering at DI. So it's something you can do. Spring Saturday or like the holidays coming up on, Monday. That's something you should do with your kids. But the Power Tower you can really use for like anything fractions, but then you have a whole bunch of pre-made fractions. That's where I was like, polygon pizza was like the main thing I was trying to push for geometry. So ordered fractions, same thing with ordered whole numbers, greatest to least, least to greatest. Again, it says it's going to include mixed numbers, but I have never seen mixed numbers. But even if they do have to use mixed numbers, making sure they look at the whole numbers first. There are 2 methods. The one is using a calculator to convert it to a decimal, which they will be allowed to do on the SOL because the SOL is limited to 2 sections. The section they can use the calculator, and the section they can't use the calculator. And I've checked, and this part is on the part where they will use the calculator. So that's what I'm leading with this year. There is a way to do it with equivalent fractions, which I'll show you. But again, just like with comparing the fractions, it is a long and drawn-out process. So the video tonight that they're supposed to watch tonight is actually how to use a calculator to do it. And it was hard because I was trying to like watch my iPad screen while also like dividing it on my phone. So, and then I had to like one time when I started recording, I got a text like during. So I was like, okay, let's go back, turn on airplane mode, and then redo this all. Actually, the last night's post video about the comparing fractions one, I recorded the whole thing, and I went to hit like publish to YouTube, and it said it was a second long. I was like, I've been talking for like 7 minutes, and I realized I never actually pressed record. So as I went back,
a really quick video there.
well, I was like, because I was like, I'm gonna give a really good explanation, and then I went back and I was wondering if they angry like that. I have to go re-record this one, but yeah, pressing record, but that has nothing to do with it. So to order fractions with a calculator, you just make sure that you divide top to bottom just full face values. The one drawback to this right now is that we haven't done ordering decimals. So I kind of in the video tried to just show them like a quick rudimentary overall of line up the zeros, line up the decimals, and do that. So it's important for them to add in the extra place values because if they see 0.5 and they don't have it lined up correctly, they'll think, oh, 0.375 is bigger than 5. So it's important to line up the decimal. Which is my first 200 line up the decimal from my first I
What? We only get to hear too late to apologize 458 times.
There's no public. I make the kids make their own.
Oh,
Yeah. It's on. I think they have the form. I don't remember. You just have to scroll through like all the different videos. But they're in there somewhere, and I will play that for the kids because it will literally.
I don't know, you say too late to apologize.
Oh, yeah.
I have heard that now 2 days straight.
Yeah, that one.
Morning, noon, and night.
Oh, God, that was terrible. We're not going to speak on that one. That was the first one that, I don't know what I was thinking. But, but they're all on there. You can go find them. So that's how you do it. Calculate. Mistakes, the proper least common multiple thing goes with when we talk about dividing or multiplying equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions. Simple mistake is they might have divided them all into decimals correctly, but rather than putting it in greatest to least, like a lot of times we practice this with greatest to see this one is greatest to least. It's important that they're looking at the arrow to make sure like which direction it's supposed to go in. Now putting the given fractions in order, and what I mean by that is if they're making equivalent fractions rather than decimals, they might try to put in the equivalent fractions or the decimals rather than the fractions that are given. I'm typing it into the correct calculator correctly, or I'll look at the whole number if there is a whole number involved in a mixed number. So let's practice this. Q17 through 19. You can use the same approaches I just discussed. You can give them like 3 fractions or 5 fractions. You can give them a calculator. You can use the power on there, the power on there. So again, you give them, 3 little Dixie cups, and then just have them put those in order. That one will be kind of cool, especially if you give them like a 1, like if you give them a 24th, so it might be like 6, a 4th. They can kind of also kind of self-correct it on the back there. Adding subtracting fractions, there's going to be 3 different things, like denominators, which is pretty easy based on that sense. I think they touch on it a little bit. Second grade, definitely third grade. Unlike denominators, which are brand new to fourth grade, and that's word problems always valuable. So like denominators are, they just simply add across the numerators. I tell them you never, ever, ever, no matter what, add the denominators. It's always just drop straight across, and simplifying is necessary. We'll talk about simplifying next time because that's a whole other can of worms. So the least common multiple, which is we will delve more into the whole concept of least common multiple, multiples and factors, greatest common factors next time. But as a brief overview, least common multiple is really when you just take each denominator and you just write out pretty much all the multiplication facts, the products for it until you find a match. So a lot of times I'll have them, like for the first denominator, I'll have them write out the first 5 facts, so 3 times 12, 15, and then go down to the second one and write out the first 5. And as soon as I find a match, then you don't have to go any further because it's easy that they have to write out all 12 every single time. And then you basically multiply. So it's 3 times 5 will give you 15. And this will make a lot more sense next time, and once the book videos about these multiples come out. Sometimes throw a lot at you right now. You just multiply 3 over 3 because that's the same as multiplying by 1. And you multiply it by 1, and all it's going to do is change the actual numbers, but it's not going to change the value, which is mathematically how that works. And I try to tell that you can multiply this by 487 over 487. Same amount of So then you get the like denominators, and then you add it to the numerators, and you bring over the denominator. Again, this will make a lot more sense next time once the flip videos start being made about these common multiples, because we kind of changed up the order of how we were teaching things. We're still kind of fine tuning where. So the word problems are. I'll just read this word problem to you because this is never really a way that you would approach kind of a real life situation. It says Olivia made brownies for her family. Olivia ate 1/3 of her brownies. Her sister ate 1/6 of the brownies, and her brother ate 1/4 of the brownies. What fraction of the brownies was left here? And she must be a fraction in simplest terms. So that's a very obscure way of asking that. I've had so many questions about this one from the kids over the years. I've had the question of, well, how big is the pan start? How many brownies were in the pan? And they're asking all good questions where I see where they're going with it all. But what we kind of talk about is that it might, if it doesn't give you star value, assume that's one whole brownie pan. So they would have to find, what 3, 6, and 4 have in common, and that's 12. And so really it starts with one whole pan, so it's 12 out of 12, and then they're going to take a third away, a sixth away, a fourth away, and then on top of that, reduce it down. I know it ends up as like one. I think it's like 1/4 what that answer ends up as overall. It's confusing way to do it, but it would, if I figure this out then on Tuesday, that would be very confusing to them, but as we work through it, it makes a little bit more sense just telling them, like, if it doesn't give you a star value, think of it as it's one whole pan of brownies you take it away from there. But like anything, like when I saw they were struggling with the fraction or the number line thing, we work on it, helps move them along. So common mistake is trying to add or subtract. Unlike denominators, you can have to stress to them that you can't do that. They will still just try to do like neither of these does an example, but like they might get like 6/16 if they just try to add straight across. Adding the denominators is a big mistake that they make in the beginning, but not so much at the end. After telling them, no matter what everybody says, like you're not going to add the denominators, just drag it straight across. Not creating quick equivalent fractions with the LCM thing, and not adding subtracting correctly. That's just like it might be like 10 minus 4, and then either add when it's subtract or subtract from some sort of addition or subtraction mistake. Not interpreting like the word problem correctly and adding when it's supposed to be subtracting or subtracting when it's supposed to be adding. Not reading the question carefully, or stopping without doing the steps, which goes along with not simplifying. If you notice on that word problem, it said like your answer might be, it must be a fraction in simplest terms. It might just not be in simplest terms. I'm going to actually model, I'll do this one up on the small board so you guys kind of have an idea of what it looks like for that different node. 5/12 and 1/4. So the difference of 5/12 and 1/4. So the way you actually go, and you will see that this becomes a very time-intensive process. It's not necessarily the hardest process in the world. It's just like 5 steps, and within each step has a bunch of steps. So it's not necessarily hard. It's just kind of daunting sometimes. Kind of like long division, but repeating it, but it becomes very long over time. So the first step you have to do is find if like check are they like denominators. They're very clearly not. You have to find what they will have as like denominators. So I always have them with 4 and 12, and then they come by 4. So 4, 8, 12. And now I know it's going to be 12, but I normally have them go out 4 or 5. They list 9, sometimes 16, and then 1. And then they list 12, and they see, there's their match. So I have them set their answer denominator as 12. And so they know that they're going to be turning the 12 into 12. So they're going to turn the 1/4 into 12. So I have them just pretty much drop down the 5/12 exactly as is. That's fine. So then I have them do, so they do 1/4 equals times, and I have them kind of say this out loud as we begin to kind of ingrain the whole thought into it. But like I have them say 1/4 times something equals something over 12. So they know, they kind of say it as they go along. It's like a little So then I have them kind of go back and fill in the blanks. I say, what do you need to do for to get to 12? And they say, multiply by 3. So I say, okay, whatever you do the bottom, you do the top. So 1 times 3 is 3. So you see the starting time is almost screen really quickly. And so then they have to do 3/12, subtract that, and then that will give you 2/12, which then on top of that, that's not the full answer because that can be simplified down. And we'll talk about simplifying next time. But basically, the quick way to do it is realizing that 2 is an even number, 12 is an even number, so you can divide each by 2, which then gives you an answer of 1/6. So very long process to get to a very small number. But as long as this is when they haven't been practicing, if they've time where we're kind of falling down on their multiplication facts, it will make their life a lot easier if they know those multiplication facts, because then it makes, because this whole process pretty much is, these 2 middle steps are very dependent on multiplication. Having a quick master class or reflex is going to be helpful for that. So that's a very quick version. The videos obviously will be a little bit slowed down for them, but that's adding subtracting fractions. Like I always tell them, like, it looks like it's a lot, and it's a lot of writing to do, but it's a lot of just kind of multiplying things and writing down a bunch of stuff. So it's really not. I kind of compare it to long division. Like when you hear long division, a lot of them got scared, but after a couple of days doing it, you realize that it's not as scary as it actually is. The way to practice this, I fill R and S. R is like denominators, I think. Yeah. R is like denominators and S is unlike denominators. You can use number tiles to get them 2 fractions. You can use power to get them 2 fractions. So again, you give them the inside, just tell them to add those or subtract those 2. You can use recipes. That's a really good real world application. That's honestly how one of the book videos is going to be. Is I'm going to be in the kitchen saying, "No, I need this. I need half a cup of brown sugar and I need a 1/4 cup of sugar. How much sugar do I use at home?" So then I'll switch to just on cooking and do all that. So you can have them combine 2 or 3 different ingredients, or you can kind of model that convoluted brownie problem and make them brownies and send 1/2 of them to me, and then you guys can keep a 1/3 and then donate the 1/4 and figure out what happened to brownies. Just a suggestion. I'm not putting any words in your mouth.
You are taping this.
You are taping this, so make sure
Whoever watches this will be bringing your brown.
around like the 52-minute mark is probably the most important part of this entire video. So listen to that.
I'm not brownies too.
I'm not picky. Brownies are good. So to talk kind of to do the comparing fractions with equivalent fractions rather than just the butterfly method, you still do everything that you're going to do for adding and subtracting fractions. However, at the end, you just rather than adding them, you're just going to do the greater than less than equal to. So I still do the same process, but just modeled with the smartboard. You list out the factors, you multiply, you do like 2/5 times something equals something over 15. Whatever you do to the bottom, you do to the top. It helps them to reinforce for adding and subtracting fractions. But again, I don't want to overwhelm them and fill them with having to do all these steps when the butterfly thing takes 30 seconds. This probably takes about 2 minutes to do one of these problems. Same concept for ordering fractions. Ordering fractions becomes even a more intensive problem because now there are 3 denominators to find all these common multiples. I know on one of the release items, it's like, I forget what it is. It's like 10. It's something weird. And the least common multiple is like 190. And so they have to, count out to 190, which was like, let's do this on calculator instead, or maybe 180 or something. But it's something that's not in their basic facts. They have to get to whatever times 12 and then start counting along from there, which that alone can take, 5, 10 minutes sometimes. So that's why it's important. But again, the way I will kind of touch on this as ways, and I'll say the same thing to them. Like, this is another way to do it So that concludes our evening. I know there was a lot of information in it, and then we'll go kind of all come full circle next time, which will be fraction part 2. The stuff that we talked about, as you see, the topics, half of this stuff we've already covered in class and book videos, stuff from intro to fractions to ordering we've already touched on, and we'll still be working on that class, and then adding subtraction will probably start next week or the following. To work with your child on that next time, I haven't sent it out on class messenger yet. We'll probably do that like on Monday. It'll be the 28th. Will be the next one, which will be the rest of fractions, reducing fractions, making more stuff about total fractions, greatest common factor, some multiple, but it will tie all this stuff together. And again, it'll probably be very similar to how some of the stuff will have been covered before the night, and then some will be after the night. Do you guys have any questions?
How are you, so you have an inside fraction, that's right?
Yep.
How are you determining what's on the outside, like how big are you making?
I made, I think the biggest one is 132 over 144, but I was making like as many as possible. I would really focus on taking, like I do the denominators, like the inside denominators, halves, thirds, fourths, and fifths, sixths, eighths. I really something, and then multiply each of them, so like 1/2, 2/3, so on and so forth. Multiply each of them up to like 9, and so then I can kind of show you the process of how I actually make it down. I made like a ridiculous amount of them just because I needed to have one set. But if you're making, one for here, you don't need to make a bunch of them. But I'll kind of show you how I did that then. All right, polymeters and their coordinates. Remember, if you're listening at home, 52-minute mark.